One driver who perhaps wasn't so confident was Hideaki Miyoshi, who'd had a fraught time in the event last year and headed off uncertainly on the 16-stage event. The morning stages were repeated in the afternoon, although the threat of rain could change the conditions. Graham Middleton wasn't registered for the championship, but was a favourite along with Trevor Smith's 4x4 Sierra. Steve Hill, the Group N leader, had a disappointing event, his gearbox unable to stand the strain. There was much expectation about the battle between the Peugeot drivers Jonny Milner and Kevin Furber in his replacement privately prepared car. Mike Rimmer's BMW was using up brakes and tyres early, caused by a seized damper. Tim Hill's Group N Sierra was hoping for a better performance than in the Granite City Rally, and moving over from the National Tarmac Championship, Stephen Hendy. By stage 2, Miyoshi had disappeared with brake failure, so Trevor Smith could look forward to useful championship points if he could just finish the rally. John Milner was immediately on the pace, recording 3rd fastest on Tinwald 1. And running at number 17, another outing for Bill Gwynn's compact Nissan Sunny GTI-R. Sean Farrell would need a call to his sponsor after clouting a verge in his 4x4 Sierra. Middleton, with co-driver Dougie Patterson, had hired an ex-Didier Auriol works car for this event in his limited 1991 program. And he was putting on a tremendous display, swapping times with Trevor Smith on the opening stages. Tarmac makes greater demands on the drivetrain than forest stages, and Smith was aiming to record his first finish in the Manx National. Ian Roberton in the Greys of Guildford 4x4 leapt his way into the top 6 early on, and trying hard to keep up with the Group A cars with a local Group N team of Don Bailey and Francis Houghton. Mike Rimmer continued his spectacular display to take equal 2nd fastest on Glen Needle behind Middleton and tied with Smith. Middleton made a decisive move here, 10 seconds faster than the rest, securing his lead. Jonny Milner's commitment saw him take 2nd fastest on this stage with Trevor Smith and continue it in an impressive 3rd place overall. Local man Gary Lease took 6th fastest, and Stephen Hendy in the ex-Trevor Smith Sierra was coping well with the pressures of the national event. Giving his brakes a severe workout, Ken Jones in the Group N Mazda 323, which eventually retired after 11 stages. Philip and Pauline Taylor's Sierra nearly marooned itself on this verge, but they slowly worked their way back onto the road and to a commendable 13th place finish. Gary Lease and Andrew Holmes' Sierra continued their charge up the leaderboard after an early gearbox change. They were quickest on Barouse from both Middleton and Milner. Kevin Furber was having to take 2nd best to his Peugeot rival Milner, and Ian Roberton took 5th fastest on this stage. Don Bailey was having to make up time after collecting a 2-minute penalty, so Group N was now led by Greg Mills's 4x4 Sierra from Martin Harrison. The Manx National was a round of the Dunlop Metro GTI Challenge, and at the halfway stage, Ralph Peake led the guesting Alistair McRae. On to the last stage of the morning, and this always provides spectacular rallying, as Middleton is followed by Smith. Near disaster for Milner, as he changed down, first gear disintegrated, and the 205 just made it into service for a quick gearbox change. The local team showed well, with Gary Lease again taking the stage win from Middleton and then Smith. At the halfway stage of the Manx National Rally, Graham Middleton led Smith by 16 seconds. John Milner was in 3rd place, a minute behind, with Mike Rimmer's BMW in 4th, overcoming various brake problems, and Gary Lease in 5th place. Onto the afternoon stages, and Middleton wasn't too far ahead of Smith, although the national championship contender was conscious of the need to finish the rally and add to his point standings, rather than make a heroic attempt to win the event. Kevin Furber was still determined to show well, despite losing the advantage to Milner. Martin Harrison and Dave Orrick now led Group N, but were noting the progress of Don Bailey with interest, although in national championship terms, the Manxman Bailey wasn't registered for the championship. Bailey took 6th fastest on Grenaby, but at the front, Middleton was beginning to ease away from Smith, whose gear-changing hand suffered from repetitive strain injury. Ian Roberton slipped down to 22nd after he clouted a rock hidden in a grassy verge and deranged his suspension. Stephen Hendy also crashed out on SS11, promoting Mike Rimmer's BMW to 6th place. One place ahead of him, Kevin Furber, still performing acrobatics, but unable to challenge either Gary Lees or John Milner. Middleton, who's based in France these days, is something of a tarmac specialist, although he'd never previously won the Manx National. Onto the final stage of this year's rally, and Graham Middleton scored a clear win over Trevor Smith, who'd taken things steadily when the threatened rain had appeared. A tremendous third place for the 1.9-metre Peugeot of John Milner, and an equally impressive fourth for Gary Lees, the local man again taking fastest time on the final stage. Kevin Furber was a minute down in 5th place, but well clear of Mike Rimmer's BMW. Having made up their 2-minute deficit, Don Bailey won Group N, and Ralph Peake was the victor of the Dunlop Metro GTI Challenge, ahead of Malcolm Oxborough and Don Kettleborough. Presentation time at the TT Grandstand in Douglas, and second place Trevor Smith was happy with his result.